like to hold that?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy sunny Monday.
Sunny Monday.
Back to school you go, Dr. Mary.
Yes.
All right, so today we're talking about the final C of Limitless, Laura Gassner-Otting's book. I'm going to bring you up to speed again, just really quickly. I was making oatmeal and bread, so I'm a little behind on prep. Sorry about that. Let's see, where is that little section?
It's still a seamless transition.
Seamless, just incredible. Where is that section that I can always pull up immediately? Do you have anything you'd like to add? Okay, here we go. So,
Here's Dana.
thank you. Laura's point is that you're trying to achieve consonance. Consonance is the sense of frictionless belonging, of momentous stride, of core relevance. It's a guiding force that reveals how your work, whatever that may be, contributes to your overall life's plan. It connects your daily activities to the success of those around you and gives you clarity about why you, specifically you, matter. Consonance is not just purpose writ large, it's your purpose, freely and clearly defined by you and put into action through awareness of and alignment with your life's plan. So, just this fabulous way of thinking about, are all the pieces of my life, all the facets of my life feeding into each other. 4 elements of consonance. 3 weeks ago, we talked about calling, which is a gravitational pull towards a goal larger than yourself. Connection gives you sight lines into how your everyday work serves that calling by solving the problem at hand. Contribution means that you understand how this job, this brand, this paycheck contributes to the community to which you want to belong, the person you want to be, or the lifestyle you'd like to live. And finally,
We're going to talk about
the
control.
4th C is
Control.
That reflects how you are able to influence your connection to that calling in order to have some say in the assignment of projects, deadlines, colleagues, and clients, offer input into shared goals, and do the work that contributes to your career trajectory and earnings. One last sentence. Until we are able to control how our connection and our contribution influence and are influenced by our calling, we will be limited in the confidence we have and the choices that we make. So it's a lot of C words, which can get a little bit confusing after a while, but I think the point is really interesting. So Dr. Mary, control, the 4th C.
The 4th C of the apocalypse. It was interesting. I mean, again, if you think about what Daily Dose was originally set up for, and this is a business book, there is actually some hidden truths to listening to this and not thinking, why am I listening to this? I don't own a business, I'm not in a business, but it does kind of link to it. So she started off this chapter by asking the reader why you need control. Autonomy. These days, even before the pandemic, people had the ability to work anywhere they wanted. I mean, we always had some people that worked remotely. And we looked at them and go, how do you do that? How do you live in Florida, but actually your main office is in South Dakota? But nowadays we think, yeah, why not? Because we've all done it now. So workers, technology means that we can actually do what we do anywhere we want to. And the control is, you are responsible for doing your job. It's not like I have to go to work and I've got to sit there and I think people are staring at me in my little cubicle. You can
and be managed.
Yeah. Control now is all about self-control. Why I started that by the business everyday life. A part of living with your addiction is self-control.
Yeah.
So when I read this chapter in the eyes of I'm trying to understand a business book, and then I read it in the guise of I'm just someone who's actually lost their control. What hints can you give me? And I got a lot more out of it the second time through. Anyway, I'm burbling. Confidence, actually, another C. She went on to say in a little side note. Confidence can be considered our lack of self-determination at work. And there was a study done in 2013 between having a job position that presented you with more power or a bigger leadership role, or having a job opportunity that it gave you more self-determination and control over what you did. way more people went for the control over the power and the money.
Oh, what would you go for?
I think I would go for the control as well.
Do you feel like you have a lot of control over your career, your work?
I think so because, you know, it's a unionized academic position. So, yes. But I only have control over it, I think, because I accept what comes down from the administration. You could say, well, I don't want to do this, but I thought, well, then, you know, but it's part of the university thing. We just have to... But you can get control over doing it your own way.
So you have control in your sphere as it exists inside a larger circle that you don't really have much control over.
Think of it like an orbit around, like orbits around planets and solar systems. They do their thing, but they're in a...
Yeah, they're in something larger.
They skirt around other orbits. They, you know, it's a dance around, really.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can say for me, there's no question. Obviously, I work for a nonprofit, so I very clearly, and at every single turn in my life, I have very clearly chosen control over money.
Yeah.
Very, very clearly,
It's
to
actually...
my detriment sometimes.
But are you happier in what you do?
Well, I can't be managed, as you know. No one is the boss of me, so there's that. But more importantly, the only intangible thing that actually has ever mattered to me is time. Because it's the only thing you cannot restore.
Yeah, it's true. Once it's gone,
You can
you've lost
spend
it.
money and get it back. You can ruin a relationship and get it back. There are many, many things that you can destroy or let go of and restore and recall. But time is impossible.
And it took me a long time to get this. And just as a side note, Dana has always said to me, because one of my favourite things to do in the world is to watch sci-fi movies, movies from the 50s. And Dana always said to me, why would I waste my time watching that? And now I get it. It's well, most of these films are like an hour and 20 minutes long, but it's an hour and 20 minutes that you've wasted watching a very, you know, it's a movie.
If it brings you joy, is a good investment of time.
But if it doesn't,
it brings me no joy. I could spend the rest of my life reading and still never get to all the books I want to read. So why would I give any time to a B film that I'm absolutely only going to be irritated by, and that's best case scenario.
And that actually, I brought that up because this does lead into her then things of, so how do we feel we lack control? And it's things we do to ourselves, and that's one of them. So
all right, so keep going.
This is why I brought that up. What the hell is he talking about?
Stop it, nobody thought that.
Short shifting self-discovery. And you might think, what on earth does that mean? So, in plain American... they've done studies on this, and she quoted this too. We build paths based on where we've already been. If something works, we keep going with it. So we actually limit ourselves. That goes into something that I had to read a couple of times, and I thought, damn it, this is true. We can blame our high school teachers.
Why is that?
Well, and bear in mind, part of my job is to train people to be, well, elementary ed teachers, but to teach in a high school. We make people work on their strengths because, you're great at everything, you're good at it. Oh, suddenly, and when you were going into middle school, everyone's supposed to be great at everything. And all of a sudden, you get to 15 and 16, which is a bad age to be anyway. Suddenly it's, you're good at math, let's do more math classes. You're good at art, let's do art classes. And then all of a sudden it's, you're 18, how about going to college? And it went on, and then it said, and the bottom line is, and this is absolutely true, your frontal cortex, which is basically you, is not fully developed till you're 25. Yeah. And you've always said, you think going to college is wasted on the young.
College is totally wasted on the 18 to 22
And that's one of the worst things you do. You pump them off to college. And we did the same. We packed Quinn off to college with a pat on the back. He was 18.
Yep.
You'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Well, and he was fine and is fine.
Yeah. But that could be a big mistake. And that could, she said this does lead on to one of them, You don't have time to start charting your own course.
Well, and the other thing that's interesting, and I haven't read this book now for about a month, so this is just me responding to you. But the other thing that's really interesting about that is if I hated math in high school, which I did, also had zero interest in science, really only cared about English, the arts, and history. So I packed English, the arts, and history into my schedule and completely abandoned math and science, which has served me fine on one hand because I forced a path that leaned to my strengths, or that was available based on my strengths. But what might I have done if I hadn't just been allowed to give up what I thought I hated at 17? Because what do you know at 17? And what if someone had said to me...
When you're 17, you think you know everything.
Well, I know, but what if someone had said to me, I know you think chemistry is stupid. You still need to take chemistry. Now, I'm going to go on record and say my life has not been poorer for not having taken chemistry. But I only can say that because I don't really know what I missed.
She's married to a biochemist.
And I'm married to a biochemist. Yeah, so there's that.
This leads on to another thing, and she actually says this. This is actually a subtitle in the book. Fake it till you make it sucks.
She does.
She does.
Sorry to people who find that offensive.
Fake what was her first point. When you're faking it to make it, you fail to work on what you actually want to do, which will give you ultimately give you control over what you want to do if you're pretending that you want to do something else.
Okay, so let's push on this for a second, because I think a lot of people actually think fake it till you make it is an important step, particularly if you lack confidence, if you have failed at something before. So let's say, let's go back to the day you came home from rehab. And many of you know I had a complete breakdown and screamed at Dr. Mary that I couldn't believe I was never going to get to drink again, how sad I was. I mean, I gave alcohol a level of importance in my personal life that alcohol absolutely does not have. But again, because I can't be bossed, I started thinking about, so now I can't have alcohol because I'm married to an alcoholic, and whatever. So I spiraled out of control. Temporarily. And you said to me, put your shoes on, we're going across to Luna, you're getting a glass of wine and I'll get something non-alcoholic. Was that you faking it till you make it? What was that? Maybe it wasn't, but was that?
I have thought about that a lot. I think that was, I've got no fake left in me. And I even said it to you, if this goes belly up, I've only been out of there a day. I bet you my bed is still there if I need it. Okay,
so actually your faking it till you make it was when you and Grant have talked about this, you and Tristan have talked about this, you would go out and hardly drink because you didn't want anyone else to know.
That was me. That was my fake.
That was you faking it.
I had no fakes left. That was it. I thought, well, I have a choice. The fact that I now have to drink, I can't drink alcohol is not faking it. I just thought, well, hell, let's just go and let's start embracing this. So that was me. That was my first instance of not faking it till I make it.
That is incredibly interesting.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
So the reason fake it till you make it sucks is, go ahead.
I got through. As you know, I'm a scientist. If you have an equation, an equal sign, but then make it into a 3-line thing, that means it's very equates to.
Oh, it's like all caps.
Yes. Limits growth.
Fake it till you make it limits growth.
That was my first chance to grow as someone who wanted to be an alcoholic enjoying sobriety. Get over to a bar and have a non-alcoholic beer.
I probably have to stop berating myself for forcing you to
you
get
shouldn't.
it. Wow. That makes me feel a little better. That's amazing. Okay, what's next?
Define quality. Don't be afraid to get self-evaluations. You ask for someone's opinion, you have to suck up what they tell you.
You don't have to necessarily adopt it, but you do have to.
Which is always why get advice. Never take criticism from people you wouldn't ask advice from. If you want to ask advice from someone you know and trust them, and if they give you something that you think is a criticism, you've asked for it, and they're just being honest because they like you. Get more of that. That'll help you get control because you understand what you're doing wrong and you can learn from it. It's a hard lesson to follow. We all have to do it. And I've been doing nothing but it, I think, for 4 years, and it's made me a far better individual, I think.
Very true.
Another point that she did with all of this was what she's called find a fundamental state.
So loud, Dr. Mary.
I'm in teacher mode.
We're in a small
I'm
space.
in teacher mode. Find fundamental state of leadership.
What does that mean?
That actually means this comes when you are working at your very best, when you've hit the mother lode, you've nailed a presentation. You immediately sit down and go into the next thing. Is you set up a feedback loop and you think, that's brilliant. Why? And you learn from how good something was the way you learn for something that was bad.
So say some more about that.
So what you
please.
do is, and it goes on to these last three are, so you set up the feedback loop and then you
We
schedule.
only have about 1 minute.
I know, schedule what they call a family meeting and you get the feedback, because knowing what you did right, knowing what you did wrong, all leads into it. And it all comes down to her basic fundamental principle about this chapter is that we inadvertently we govern ourselves and steer a course towards working out how not to fail. Because we think that's how we have control, but you only get control by learning from a failure. And it's been said throughout history. I mean, Napoleon even said it. Oh yes, like, this man's brilliant, but has he ever lost a battle? Has he learned from it? Is he lucky? And it goes back to, people always say you're never a real leader till you've lost, because you haven't learned a damn thing.
It's very true.
So the control chapter basically all sums up is basically that. Here's ways to find out you've got control. Here's ways to work out how you are in control or lacking in control. And here's the way to get control just for yourself without the detriment of anyone else.
So interesting. Well done, Dr. Mary.
Thank you. It was an interesting chapter.
So next Monday, we will wrap up the whole book, and then we will be done with it. But by next Monday, I will have worked with Laura. I'm going to be doing some work with her for the next 3 months. So I might have all kinds of things to share with you. We'll see. I only have 1 meeting with her this week. But it's very exciting. And thanks for leading this conversation, Dr. Mary. I learned a lot from this.
Thank you. I learned a lot doing it yesterday.
Yeah. So we hope that you learned a lot too. Enjoy the day. We'll see you tomorrow.
And again, please don't think of this as a business venture. These are lessons we can have in everyday life. See you tomorrow.
Bye.